Well, I actually learned about it because my parents came here when I was a 7th grader. So my father was actually a student here. He's actually a graduate of Cornell University, an Ivy League school. And he's an agricultural extension agent, and he came here because he wanted to study and learn more about God's Word. His job gave him a whole year off, and as a result of that he chose a Bible college, which the university decided to go ahead and let him do it. And he brought his family of 5 children here, and that was my first time learning about it and being here, and came back as a student later on. My husband and I, we actually met here when I was a student, when I was a college student here, and my first year I graduated, and then my husband had 1 more year left to go. And as a result of that, since I was, graduated and all grown up, I needed some job to do. And Trinity actually offered me my first job. I taught, since I volunteered doing women's aerobics classes and stuff while I was a student, and I had a teacher ed degree, they hired me to be the PE and teacher, fill in all the PE classes and the aerobics classes. So I did that for my first year, and I loved it and said I wanted to come back. So about 16 years later or so, we came back, and now I'm here as a professor. Trinity's been a really special place in terms of its uniqueness to involving the family and the whole atmosphere of love, and it's a really genuine place to really feel like a family. And so I think part of the heartbeat is, since God designed the family and the whole aspect of the family is the real true heart of what God is all about, Trinity really does exemplify that in a lot of different ways. We have anybody who comes on campus feels the atmosphere of love and the family environment, and I think that more than anything else is part of the heartbeat, the love that goes along with the family, the atmosphere of unity, the attitude and service to go out and help other people and outside of your family and working together. All of those aspects of family in terms of what the greater family is all about is evident here, and I think that's one of the strongest things. Well, I am the chair of the teacher ed department, so that's one of the programs here. We are actually we work in conjunction with a state university, Valley City State University, and we work together to provide an elementary ed degree and a PE, secondary and elementary, K through 12 PE, and then elementary 1 through 6 to our students. And we also offer at Trinity, everybody here gets a biblical studies major, so we have that. We also have a missions, IT, intercultural studies major, and I happen to also be a U.S. missionary. My husband and I are also U.S. missionaries, so we're also serving in that capacity while we're here. And then we also have psychology and counseling, and we just added another business major, and we have a plethora of minors, so you can get just about anything here. One of the biggest things that I learned when I was a student here years ago was it was inbred into all of us that we were here to serve and to minister. And as part of that included, our academic. We learned how to be servants, students of the Word, and learning how to learn God's Word and apply it in our hearts. And then we also learn how to go out and do it. And that's still true today. Our students, we expect them to know and to study and specialize in the areas that we're training them for, but we also want them to apply it and live it in a practical world when they go outside and reach out to those people who are in the world in whatever capacity they might find themselves in. Part of our mission is to train our students to evangelize the world in a lot of different capacities, be it across the world, around the world, in small communities. It can take place on the street, and so we try to provide them with a lot of different opportunities to evangelize in whatever setting they find themselves in. Discipleship is a very important part of evangelism, because evangelism, I think sometimes people view evangelism and just go out there and share God's Word and then just tell them and then leave. But it's a whole lot more than that, because discipleship is where evangelism is the second phase of evangelism, where they actually have to go and do and be a part of it. So discipleship is a consistent part of consistent evangelism. So it's the living out and the sharing with, and the part of the family aspect that I talked about earlier. I think discipleship is really getting out there and making disciples and being a part of everybody's lives that you're coming into contact with, and sharing your life with them and helping them improve in their walk with the Lord. Part of our commitment here is to really invest, I think, in the lives of our students. And in doing so, our job is to really make a connection with them and share our very lives with them. I know my husband and I have students over to our house quite frequently. In fact, just this week we had students over and we shared meal with them, and it's in doing those types of things that we really, and that true deep investment in their lives is what really helps them to feel confident, I think, in their own delivery when they go out there and interact with the world. Oh, getting involved is a very important part. Everybody can do a little bit. Some people can come and give of their time if they don't have financial resources, but financial resources are always the easiest thing to do if you can. But time, volunteering, offering, maybe even giving something to a student who providing financial aid, a scholarship or anything. There are a lot of different ways. I think if people are just being led by God and seeing whatever resources they have at hand, God will multiply those and find a good way to help them to be used for His purpose. More than anything, God's will, in order for it to proceed, needs to be done through prayer. If we don't pray and ask God, nothing's going to happen. So the importance of prayer is probably the most essential, because if God's hand is in it, and if we're praying and asking God and seeking God, then He will by all means answer us. Now God says, though, it says in His Word that He does require that we are doing His service. So as long as we are doing what He's asking us to do, then He will answer. I love being a teacher. I was a teacher ever since I was a very young child. And teaching, I think, is it's certainly the gift that God gave me. And it's the best thing in the world in terms of being able to invest in another person's life and see growth and see them go out and have the tools that they need to go out and share and do the things that God has called them to do. And coupling teaching with ministry. Now, I taught in a public school for a lot of time, and I couldn't share my faith in a verbal way like I can in this capacity here at Trinity. And I'm teaching my students how to go into the world and live their life, which is what I've done all my life, living their faith out in their actions and in their words, but maybe not speaking it in the same way that we can here. But having the freedom to do that in this capacity makes it so much more exciting. And but both are important, because we have to live, and if we don't live it and model it, then it's not any good. God's plan for Trinity has been wonderful. We've faced some huge mountains. We've faced some battles that seemed the most difficult that there was. But God's hand has been upon Trinity, and we've been faithful to continue to do His will. And I think that God is really searching for people who are faithful. And when people are faithful, then God can work miracles. All throughout the Bible we've seen that happen. And over and over again, I've tested my own life, and I've looked back and I've seen when I was faithful to doing what God has asked, He too was faithful in doing what He said. And when I went down the wrong road, then God was faithful still in bringing me back, but it could have turned out a whole lot better if I would have done the right thing.